We're doing happiness this month, and after last week, some folks very politely came up to me and said, "I'm really not into all this happiness, and I don't even know about whether I feel happy all the time." And oh my God, a whole month of happiness, can I handle that? And I was thinking, wow, that is so perfect, because this week it's talking to you. Because there are people that are like that. I mean, we know them, the curmudgeons, the sourpusses, killjoys. They're like, oh my God, the malcontents. They're just not happy, complaining, surly, or just there. So let me just say, right off the bat, I spoke about it a little bit last week. We're not talking about like being whoo all the time. That's not the happiness I'm talking about. I'm talking about a happiness that's like pleasure. Like, when you get off the ride at Magic Mountain. Pleasure, see? When you enjoy something really good and for the moment, pleasure goes away. I'm talking about the undercurrent of our overall feeling around life. That's the kind of happiness I'm talking about. Something that might be more akin to joy in some people's minds. Happiness, joy, that kind of a thing. We're not talking about the old version of happiness, which was related to the word I talked about last week, luck. We're not talking about luck. We're talking about something that's beyond complaining, beyond being a malcontent, beyond being surly, knowing that there's a presence, right? Not being a worrywart about life. You see, we're supposed to be happy. You hear about happy wife, happy life. Well, I will not even look in the direction of the person that just said that. But tell me, is his wife here? But I guarantee you that if you are an unhappy person, you do have an unhappy wife and an unhappy life and unhappy friends, and just life's not that good. Because when you're in that space of unhappiness, you're living in that space of negativity. You're living in that downward spiral of life instead of the upward optimistic spiral of life. And there's a way to get there, and I hope that we can talk about some of that. See, unhappy people think that they are unhappy, and it's because they think they're unhappy, they are unhappy. And we get trained into this. It's an adaptive thing. And the human experience is one of adaptation. And so we're easily making habits out of things, and you can get into the habit of being downright surly and unhappy. Think about it like the frog in the pot. Do you know this story about the frogs in the pot? You take a frog, you dump it into hot boiling water, boom, it jumps right out. Take a frog, put it in cold water, it's like, ooh, this is cool. It swims around. If you turn up the heat on that cold water and slowly warm it up, the frog will not leave the water. It will adapt to the change of the temperature, and then therefore it will what? Be open up for frog legs, which are really tasty, taste like chicken. So this happiness and unhappiness that we're dealing with is something that we have learned over time. We didn't come out this way. You see, and what we must understand, what I want to encourage people that have that low set point for happiness, that's okay. The thing is, you must recognize it and accept that, and accept what you are right now before you can accept what you are meant to be. This is the process. This is how it works. Mark Nepo talks about this, and I love that book, Book of Awakening. Do we have it in the bookstore? If we don't, we're going to get it, because I love that book. All right, here he goes. He says, the act of acceptance is a risk that frees us because we can't find the growth that awaits us until we give up what is against our very nature. See, so once you accept the fact that maybe I'm not as happy as I'd like to be, once you accept that, and that's a risk because that means you're changing your paradigm of life. And when we change our paradigm, things get really stormy for a little bit, but then fair weather returns. So it's not going to be there long. It frees you because, see, once you accept that that's where you are, then you get to move. You see, now you're ready. You've kind of put amendments into your life's soil so that you can grow into that is awaiting you. That's our very nature, which is to be happy. You see, we were born happy. How many of you have ever seen an unhappy baby? And if you have seen an unhappy baby, it's only a couple seconds. Give it something. It's probably just wanting something, right? And so if we're unhappy, it's because we're probably just wanting something. But they come out naturally kind of, ooh, this is cool. Look at that. It's like one big psychedelic trip until their eyes get focused on other things, And then, thumb. Oh, what? It's just like wonderful to watch that. You see? So that's how we're living an abundantly lavish, rich universe where we are supplied with anything and everything that we want, that we can conceive, then we can achieve. You've heard that before, right? Nothing here is new. As I said one time long ago, I don't have any new ideas, but sometimes I might have some original arrangements of the ideas. So stand by for that. We're supposed to have fun in life. You see, we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to choke. I'm sure that that's supposed to help us do something. Probably not croak. Okay. So, but we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to expand. We're supposed to enjoy life, you see. Dr. Holmes says, if a person, the thing I wanted to say is, we're not supposed to live in denial, right? I'm talking about all this happiness because it's a set point, right? But we're not living in denial. And Holmes is very strong about this. He mentions this a lot in his writings. He says here in the Holmes Papers, a great book, by the way, and if you buy it, you support the Science of Mind Archives. Brought to you by the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation. I happen to be on that board, so buy that book. We'll have that in the bookstore too. If a person hurts, he hurts. If he feels badly, he cries. There is want, lack, and apparent limitation in the human experience. That's just a part of it. But there's no use denying that. But perhaps it is not intended to be. You see, there's something more going on for us. Now the thing that's really interesting is, even if you're the unhappy person, happiness will come up and surprise you. And you never know when it will. Row, row, row your boat gently down the chicken. See, that surprised you, some of you, because it's not supposed to be chicken, right? See, that's what happiness does to you. It comes up and it surprises you sometimes. The surprise is when you get something you don't know that's coming, you see? And so if you're the unhappy person, you're not even going to recognize it. All of a sudden, it's just going to come up and bite you. Happiness is a part of what goes on in our lives, you see? Again, back to Dr. Holmes. He says, we cannot jump away from ourselves any more than we can jump away from our shadows. We cannot jump away from this experience of happiness any more than we can jump away from the depths of our soul, from the truth of our being, from the shadow experiences of our life. In fact, many times that unhappiness is a part of the shadow showing up, the shadow kind of knocking at your door saying, hey, pay attention to me, live through this experience that I'm bringing to you. So the unhappiness is part of the journey. And it's okay to be there, but I'm just telling you that there's something a little bit deeper. And you can move to that deeper space by taking control. We hear about this all the time. Where's my book? Hold on, I left this book right here. I want this. I might need my arm extenders in a minute. So, what I want to suggest, that if you find yourself in one of these spaces of feeling unhappy around things, have a mental mutiny. Stage a mental mutiny. Take control of your thoughts. Train your mind to move beyond this idea. One of my favorite poems, I learned this in college. Let me see if I can still remember it. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the failed clutch of circumstance, my head is bloodied but unbowed. I have not winced nor cried aloud, but under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horrors of the shade, and yet the menace of the years shall find me not afraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Who is that? Invictus. That was one of Dr. Holmes' favorite poems. William Ernest Henley. And I am the captain of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul. See, you can train your mind. You are the captain of your soul and the master of your fate. And it's not just William Ernest Henley that says that. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people have been saying that. Oh, look at that. Poetry with Johanna. This segment brought to you by poetrywithjohanna.com. I'm not getting paid for any of these things. Just want you to know that. And that I will look at from a reverend, no doubt. She knows me. She knows me. But check it out. Enough tangents. We're going back to the focus. Jesus, Matthew 8:13, as thou hast believed, so it be done unto thee. Older than that. Marcus Aurelius. Not older than that. Marcus Aurelius, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. The Buddha, we are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, you are where your thoughts are. Just make sure your thoughts are where you want to be. Norman Vincent Peale, change your thoughts and change your world. Really? Change your thinking, change your life. We've been hearing this for a long time. We can take control of our lives because we are the captains of our soul. This wonderful readings here came from this book called A Complaint-Free World. It's by Will Bowen. You know about the Complaint-Free World? It's this guy that came up with these bracelets. I used to have one. It's a purple bracelet. You put it on your wrist. Every time you complain, you put it over on the other wrist. You're trying to get 21 days in a row. After 4 months of switching them back and forth, and on my third bracelet, because I snapped it, I finally gave up. It's not easy to do, but you can do this. You can move beyond your complaints. And but as I said, it's not an easy thing to do. What Will Bowen says is consciously striving to reformat your mental hard drive is not easy, as I learned. But you can have the life you've always dreamed of having, because you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. You can stage that mental mutiny and take control of your thoughts and make a difference in how you approach life on a daily basis. Okay, so maybe you're not laughing at every joke that comes off the line. You know, maybe you're not watching Steve Colbert and catching everything that he's saying on late night. That's okay. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about getting into a more optimistic state of life. See, we're talking about training your mind. That's what we're here to do. That's why I think so many of you come out for the teachings of religious science, because you understand the value of training your mind and the availability that you have to do that. The Dalai Lama was talked about. Thank you, Michelle, for doing that. The Dalai Lama says, by bringing about a certain inner discipline, we can undergo a transformation of our attitude. Our entire outlook and approach to living can change by a certain inner discipline. That inner discipline is why we talk about meditation, affirmation, and treatment. Those are the three really strong vehicles that we have in our teaching to help you have that inner discipline, to have that reminder. Then, of course, there are classes, and then there's regular activity with a practitioner. Add those on top of those other three, and you are just down with this training of your mind and moving to that place of taking control so that you can live the story of that poem, be the captain of your soul, the master of your fate, and move forward into your life the way you want it to be. That's what the joy of this happiness is all about. You see, if you have an optimistic viewpoint on life, you'll be able to take the higher reason for people doing things. Like, for example, you're driving in traffic, some guy cuts you off. What's your first response to that? Right? But if you're living in a place of happiness, you may be able to assume a higher reason for that. Like, maybe that person is in an urgent space, in an emergency, something's going on in his life. His kid just heard about his kid at school, and he's got to get there in a hurry. If you're in the happy space, you can give someone that kind of freedom to have the expression, and you get a little calmer as a result of it, and you don't have to flash a number of fingers at somebody. I don't know, you pick whichever ones you're talking about. It may be a whole fist, but it's probably not. Or maybe someone's just really rude to you. They're inconsiderate. Perhaps they're dealing with a life challenge. Happiness and joy and optimism can allow you to get to the space of not firing off immediately at somebody who's doing something rude. You can maybe bless them instead and free them to the next experience of their life that might be a little bit better, a little bit more pleasant, because there really are no boundaries. The boundaries are all things we actually make up. So if you were to bless a person that's in one of those situations where you normally would want to get a little angry about them, they could possibly feel that blessing and be soothed out by that activity, by your simple optimism, by your simple acceptance that your base point is happiness and not unhappy. Happy people, more resilient, more sensitive, more creative, more adaptive, more sociable. You like being around them. They're just fun. I'm basically happy. I told you, my mom said my mission in life is to spread joy. Come hang around with me. I'm fun. Hang around with me. I'm fun. Let's go to Dr. Holmes. Help me here, please. Before you can become happy, something has to happen to you that causes you to know that God is right where you are. That good is the final power in the universe. That love is the all-conquering source. And that thing requires something called faith. We must have a little faith, a little trust. There's this farmer, and he's hanging out at home, and he's kind of a worrywart. He's a little bit of a curmudgeon. He's thinking about things, and he works really hard. He works hard on his farm. He worries whether he's going to get enough grain and he's going to get the right price, and he's just really tight, you know. He goes to church every week, and he prays. He gets on his knees, and he begs, and he pleads to God, and just does all the right things. And he still doesn't feel that sense of happiness that we're talking about, right? And all of a sudden, one day, he's sitting in his kitchen, and there's just like, whoa, and a bright light, and he turns, looks over his shoulder, and Jesus is standing there. Jesus standing in his kitchen. He's freaked out. Oh my God, it is. It really is. So he says, this is my chance. I think I'll ask some questions. And before he can ask a question, Jesus says, let's go for a walk. Well, when Jesus says, let's go for a walk, you pretty much say, okay. I mean, you know, right? Or the Buddha, or whichever avatar you love. But in this case, it's Jesus. If it was Mary, because I really love Mary, I would be like, let's go, babe. I'm ready. Come on, tell me something. So they're walking along, and the farmer decides he's going to ask Jesus for some advice. And he opens his mouth to go, and Jesus says, shh, listen. And so they stop and they listen, and he hears a pond and the water babbling through the brook. And it soothes him so much, you know. And they walk along a little further. And he says, I still got these questions. I'm going to ask him about prayer. Jesus, and Jesus says, hush, 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 listen. And he listens again. And he can hear children playing off in the background. It's such a lovely sound, you know, children playing. It's really lovely. And they walk along a little bit further. He says, okay, I'm going to ask him a question about religion. Surely this time he'll let me ask him a question about religion. And he goes, Jesus, you know, about religion. Hold on a minute. Hey, see that pole right there? Pick up one of those pebbles. Do you think you can hit that pole with a pebble from here? What? But then again, he's hanging with Jesus, so he says, okay. So Jesus says, hey, I tell you what, I'll go first. So Jesus picks up a pebble, and he throws it at the pole, and he misses. He says, The farmer picks up a pebble, and he throws it at the pole. He hits it. Oh, that's fun. He does it again. He hits it. Wow. How nice. It was kind of fun to play like a kid for a minute. And he forgot about all his worries. And then finally they're back at the farmer's house, and the walk is over, and they're sitting at the table, and just before the farmer is about to ask another question, Jesus looks at him and says, stop trying so hard, and disappears. Isn't that sweet? Sometimes, through all the work that we do, and all the lessons that I'll tell you about from here, and the ones you'll learn about in life on your own, sometimes we really try super hard. It ain't that hard. We shouldn't try so hard. And that's where faith comes into play. If we have the faith, that unwavering confidence that there is an all-conquering force called love, an all-supplying power called spirit, a presence that operates as love through law. When we have faith in those ideas, we don't have to try so hard. And life gets a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Powerful words from the songs of David. Just walk through life with faith, and your troubles will not bother you, especially if you don't pitch a tent while you're in the valley. So there is this journey that we get to take called training the mind, taking control, having faith, moving our set point, taking the higher road, taking the highest reason for someone's behavior and applying that to that behavior, coming from an optimistic point of view. All of these things combine to take us on that journey to happiness, to where we can have a higher set point toward life. Dr. Holmes has a very simple formula for it. He says, one with the divine, period. Know that. Know that you are one with the divine. You are on your way. The Dalai Lama has a 4-point way of journey toward happiness. His is wealth, satisfaction, faith, and friends. Wealth, knowing that you live in a lavish, abundant universe, not just necessarily dollars and cents, but the leaves on the tree, the continuation of the wind, the rain that comes when it needs to, that you go to the tap and the water comes out. How blessed we are that we don't have to trek miles just to carry some tubs to go get dirty water that we didn't have to come home and boil. Recognize the blessings that we have and experience that as the wealth that is part of your life. And that wealth is available to all. We just need to open ourselves up to it. Satisfaction, he talks about. We're not talking about, I can't get no satisfaction. He's not talking about the Rolling Stones things. He's talking about, oh, Stones fans. He's talking about creative expression. Are you living your dream? Are you allowing the urge within you to come forth, and so that each and every day you can have more fun in life? Are you drawing the picture? Are you writing the story? Are you just doing something as simple as playing with a coloring book? Johanna and I now have coloring books, and every couple of days we just bring out our pencils and we just be coloring, you know. And you know you're having fun because your tongue comes out. You know, you get the Michael Jordan going on, right? Faith. That's number 3 on the Dalai Lama list. Faith. We talked about faith, just having it. The faith of a mustard seed that says, "Mountain, ye be moved." And you're not talking about moving a mountain. We're talking about the mountain that looks like a problem we just can't deal with. That mountain that looks unpassable. You just can't get around it, can't get over it. But with faith, you can get through it. And then friends, companions, loved ones. Because we can't do this alone. As Lane talked about at the beginning of the service, we are a community. And you know that. Look around here and see how many of us support each other. How many of you call each other during the week? You smile and hug each other closely. You sometimes start to go to the left and remember, no, if I go to the right, I'm hugging heart to heart. You do that kind of a thing because we're a community. You see, we need each other. We cannot do this alone. Friends, number 4 on the Dalai Lama list. And of course, if they have their formula, I have my own formula. The formula begins with, you can never go blind by looking at the bright side of things. You can never go blind by looking at the bright side, right? Number 2 on my formula, stop complaining. Not an easy one, as I told you before, but it feels really good. During those 4 months that I was practicing the no complaint pledge, it felt wonderful. It freed me up from a lot of worries, you know? And that brings me to the last one. If you can add 1 cubit to your life, right, by worry. Stop worrying too. Don't worry. Worry not. Doesn't mean that you don't take care of business. Doesn't mean that you don't set up priorities and goals that you then try to meet. But it's the worry part. It's the fretting. Move forward and get into the next space. Dr. Ken Gordon worked with me on my worrying during my last year at school. I had a little worry issue going on, and he says, do you have an uncomfortable chair in your house? I go, yeah. He says, okay, when you worry, I want you to sit in that uncomfortable chair. And so whenever I would worry, I'd go sit in this really uncomfortable chair, which I don't know why I still have, because it's really an uncomfortable chair. And it's a tall chair. And usually when I would worry, it's because I was like kind of early in the day, so I didn't have shoes on, and it's got this railing on it, so you put your feet on there. Now your feet are uncomfortable and your butt's uncomfortable. That is just not working. And the back is just, it's cold, so I don't have a shirt on or something. Just, can't touch against it. And I'm sitting in this chair, and I'm worrying, but I don't want to sit in this chair for very long, but the reason I'm in the chair is because I'm worrying. And it didn't take long to realize how worthless worrying was. Also, how painful it was, physically and mentally at the same time. What a great Pavlovian trick he did to me. Now, if I even begin to worry, I see this chair and I'm like, ooh, stop the worry. Just like the complaint thing, if you're going to complain, yeah. And then the really interesting thing when you take the complaint pledge, if you take it with somebody else and you see that they complain and you want to alert them that they're complaining, you have to switch the bracelet first because you just complained about them complaining. So if you take it with somebody else, remember that when the other person says, I think you just complained, look at their wrist. Did you move your base? Let's go back to the Dalai Lama. He says, the greater the level of calmness of our mind, the greater our peace of mind, the greater our ability to enjoy a happy and joyful life. you want to have some of that calmness of mind so that you can have the peace of mind, a happy and joyful life, try one or all of these formulaic equations here. Look for the abundance in the universe, the wealth. Look for the satisfaction through your creative expression. Have faith in the divine. Know that you are, as Dr. Holmes says, one with the divine. Love your friends and your community. Look at the bright side and don't worry about going blind. Stop complaining and worry not. And so it is. All right. So that brings us back to our affirmation. How many of you saw the affirmation meme on Facebook this week? No? Yeah?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to start doing more of those because I really love that. Something called word swag. I have so much fun. Talk about creative expression. So look out. I'm going to blow up Facebook with my memes now because that word swag is so much fun. Anyway, here you go. Post it, tweet it, text it, share it. Here we go. All together now. Happiness is no surprise to me. I cultivate it through a joyful approach to living based on knowing I am one with the source of all that is. And so it is. Feel that, live it, express it as much as you can in your life. You will feel much better for it, I guarantee you. So, let's go for a prayer. Everybody feeling a prayer time?
Yep.
Yeah? Stuff going on? It's the month of November, so the first thing, and my favorite thing, gratitude. So if you've got something to be grateful for, bring that to the surface of your consciousness right now. But if you're also going through something, if there's an issue in your life, some dissatisfaction, some condition that is that appearance of lack or limitation, of disharmony, know that the truth is that is only an appearance. And just like that mountain I talked about, we can move through it. So let's speak this word of truth as we move through it together now. For I know there is one life, and that life is God. That life is wholeness, perfection, peace, joy, happiness, lavish abundance. It outpictures as love, and it operates through law, immutable, with faith and confidence and joy. The law executes our desires and our intentions. So it is in this moment that I recognize this reality as the reality of each and every person here right now, in this room, online, watching us, in the universe itself. It's just the way it works. It's the way it is. And that's what we're speaking our truth for right now. The isness. Not the what, huh? No, the isness, that which is, the truth. The love, the beauty, the joy, the harmony, the perfect health, the divine guidance, the right action. If we know someone that's dealing with a malady, there is wholeness and perfection in their body, and every cell and organ of their being is right now coagulating, constellating around this idea of peace and wholeness, and is picturing health in their life. Maybe they're dealing with an addiction. They're knowing right now that there is no longer any need to express themselves through that substance because there is a deeper expression coming through them. It is the expression of the divine, and that moves them into right action. If you're looking for that perfect place to reside and rest your head, we're knowing right now that that place that you are looking for is right now looking for you, and you arrive at the same destination at the same time and find peace and comfort in this truth. Whatever it is that's working in your life right now, we are speaking the word of wholeness for it. The reality of spirit showing up in its self-givingness. So I bless this time together. I bless this prayer that we have spoken. And I know that the word that is coming forth right now and the intention of every person in this room that is for good is outpicturing in the life of those that are holding in consciousness. So we no longer have to hold. We now can release with gratitude into the perfect law that hears, understands, and answers with a resounding yes. I let it be. We are complete. And so it is. Mm-hmm.